Bye.
Now, moving on to our next talk, it's my pleasure to introduce Angela. Angela Baker, the Data Access and Integration Program Manager for Eurogeographics, which is an independent, non-for-profit organization based in Belgium. Her talk is entitled Open Maps for Europe, Accessing Official, Online, Public Sector, Geospatial, Open Data. So lovely to see this graphic, first of all, but I'd really like to see if Angela is present. Angela, can you hear me? Wonderful. I can see you, Angela, and hopefully I can hear you very soon too. Not hearing you yet, but we're going to try another time to hopefully hear you very soon.
Okay, that should be better now.
Perfect. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So thank you very much for having me. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about who we are, in case you don't know, and then also about our project Open Maps for Europe. So we are we're the voice of the European National Mapping, Cadastral and Land Registration Authorities. We're a unique international membership association covering all of geographical Europe based in Brussels, and we have over 60 members. Our members fulfil an essential role in providing official, definitive and detailed geospatial information for the public good. We have many activities, but the one I want to talk to you about today is our data activity and the creation of our pan-European datasets. So our members, the National Mapping and Cadastral Authorities, have a national remit. However, they also want users to be able to find, access and use their geospatial data outside of their national boundaries. One way that we support our members to do this is through the creation of pan-European datasets. These are created from our members' official authoritative national mapping data, and they're created through a unique data integration process. We have over 40 data technical producers from across geographical Europe, all of whom are working within our members' organisations. These producers transform their national mapping data to our standard set of specifications. Our production teams and data producers, who are all from within our members' organisations, harmonise their national geospatial information to standard specifications. So this means that the mapping data is edge-matched across boundaries and all themes, so users can be confident that the mapping data is consistent, comparable and easily shared. What is unique is that these mapping datasets are from official sources, and this is a particularly important example of international collaboration in the geospatial area, which includes knowledge sharing and peer-to-peer technical support. You can see on the screen our current 4 datasets and their corresponding scales. Euroglobal Map, our 1:1 million topographic dataset, was made available as open data in 2013, and this significantly increased the use of this dataset. We also offer harmonised licensing, which is really important for the end user because it allows them to agree one standard license, but they can access data that's coming from many national mapping and cadastral agencies. As I said, what is unique about the data is that it is official because it's coming from these authoritative sources. Our data is used within the European Commission, but also by commercial organisations, academics and non-profit sector. It's used for a variety of uses, including policy decision-making, statistics and background mapping. Eurostat currently procure Euroboundary Map, which is our 1 to 100,000 administrative boundary dataset for use within the whole European Commission. And through a collaborative process, we link the NUTS data that's coming from the statistical institutes to our administrative boundaries through this work with Eurostat. This allows for accurate analysis of statistical data at the European scale. Oops. So I'm sure a lot of you are aware that there's been a big change in the data landscape, and this has affected us in the geospatial and mapping arena as well. The end user wants high quality, regularly updated, available data under an open data license. And there are also many new players within the geospatial area as well, including OpenStreetMap and Google, and I'm sure there are many others that you're using on a daily basis. At Eurogeographics, we wanted to make our pan-European datasets more easily accessible and also make them available as open data to try and respond to this demand. As I said, we had experience from opening up Euroglobal Map in 2013. And so we saw that that significantly increased the use, and we wanted to do that with more of our datasets. So in 2019, we reviewed our data strategy, and as part of that larger activity, we applied for a CEF grant, a Connecting European Facility grant, and we were awarded it in 2020. And this is the Open Maps for Europe project. So the aim of the project is to connect users to open maps for all of Europe from official national sources, providing easy access to the pan-European open data created using our members' national data. Eurogeographics is the project coordinator, and we're supported by our partner in this project and our Belgian member, NGI Belgium. The project highlights NMCA's relevance, so the National Mapping and Cadastral Agency's relevance in delivering European Commission's policy objectives for the Open Data Directive, which we've also heard about earlier today in the plenary. And this identifies geospatial as a category of high-value dataset. The aim is to encourage greater use of official public sector geospatial data to help drive market development, economic growth, and competitiveness. And it's supporting the digital economy by making more data available free of charge for use and reuse, and improving the reusability of data from a technical perspective by simplifying the access. It also demonstrates how public sector organisations, in this case the National Mapping and Cadastral Agencies, can work together to produce pan-European open data by sharing lessons learned. So there are four clear deliverables to the project. So the first one is actually making the datasets open. So this has actually been a major piece of work for us. So through the project, we've made Euro-Regional Map, our 1 to 250,000 topographic dataset, and Eurodem, which is our digital elevation model, available as open data, and they were made available at the end of August this year. So making data open is actually not as straightforward as some of you may have experienced. The data is not fully owned by Eurogeographics, it's owned by our members. And so to make it available as open, we had to have in place the correct legal permissions between us and our members. And our members had to be able to give us those permissions. And in some cases, this was just not possible. And it is a continuing piece of work. The Gazetteer, it's an open gazetteer, was developed through a previous project, but we've also streamlined its licensing, so it's in line with these other data sets. And so that makes it more straightforward for the end user, but also for our members, because it's only one set of legal permissions. And through this activity, working on Open Maps for Europe, we've been able to engage more with our members, and so we've increased the coverage of the gazetteer because we have more members who've been able to give us permission. Now, this activity is not finished. The project runs until the end of next year, so 2022, and we are continuing to work with our members to increase the number of permissions we have to increase the coverage of these open datasets. As part of this task, we've also moved all of our existing users of Euro-Regional Map and Eurodem onto the open data versions of the datasets. A large part, of course, is the production of these open data sets, which I've touched on, where we have our production team that sit across all of Europe. And we're always continuing to improve the quality and coverage of our data sets. And so in this project, as well as Euro-Regional Map, Eurodem and the Gazetteer, we're also including Euroglobal Map, which, as I mentioned, was already available as an open data product, and an imagery service that is being provided by our German member, BKG. And they have taken the data from the Sentinel satellite from Copernicus and created this pan-European coverage, which looks really lovely. We're also starting to work on a cadastral index map, and that will be coming next year. So the third activity, and some might say one of the most important, was the accessibility. And it's really to try and make the data sets easy to find and easy to get hold of by the end user. And we've done this through a new and improved gateway. We procured a subcontractor to help us with that, iDocs, and their team have been working with us since February to understand our vision, the data, which it can be quite complex, and liaising closely with our members. We very much put the user at the centre of this activity and thought about the design, considering the types of users, how they might want to view, access and use our data sets, and thinking about what they needed from us when they were using the data. We've had significant support from our partner, NGI Belgium, both technically but also with the cartography of the data sets, which is based on the NGI Belgium styles. It was really important for us to place as little burden as possible on the end user, making it as easy to find, view and access the pan-European data. And we took an awful lot of feedback on this, not just from members and existing users, but also looking at best practice from other open data projects. So the interface is the window onto all of our work for this project, so it was really vital for us to get it right. And in October this year, we released it with the first iteration, and I will show you it in a second. We do have 2 further releases planned for next year. The first will include the cadastral data, which I mentioned, as well as an updated version of Euroglobal Map. And our technical team are also currently working on the metadata element of this, because one of our milestones is, of course, to ensure that the data is discoverable through the EU data portal. And this will be delivered before the end of the project next year. Now, it's also important for us to really look at promoting what we're doing so that people can get their hands on the data and actually use it. And success for us is really the increase of use of our members' data through these pan-European data sets. And how are we getting there? Well, by releasing the gateway, which is great. So halfway through the project, the gateway is already live, but also telling people about it, which is why I'm here today. So we really want to also show value from these data sets. And next year, our focus will be on case studies. We also want to show the impact back to the European Commission of the project. And so we're working towards a set of key performance indicators. Now, Eurogeographics is very reliant upon our members to deliver a quality result in everything we do, and our members hold very unique experience and knowledge about working with national mapping and cadastral agency data. And already in this project, it has proved invaluable. So I just wanted to mention a few of them here. So obviously our project partner, NGI Belgium, who are very active and have given us a lot of support, but as well our main production teams at IGN France and at BKG in Germany. They've given us a lot of advice and support. We've also taken advice from Registers of Scotland, who supported us heavily with feedback on the interface and its user-centric design, and also the General Directorate of the Cadastre in Spain, who have supported us heavily in the designing of the cadastral activity. By working together to deliver pan-European data, our members are demonstrating not only what can be achieved through Europe-wide cooperation, but also the benefits that result for the wider public good, specifically in support of policy decision-making at the European level. So I wanted to give you a quick demonstration. So I've recorded a demo of the site. So I hope this is going to work, and I will just talk through it. So if I just press the
broadcast
play
is now
button.
starting. All
So
attendees
it's
are
a
in
very
listen-only mode.
basic website in a way, in that you can do the same activity through multiple ways. So you can access the data or explore the map from the screen. You can see the data sets that are available on a slide bar on the front page, and from them you can go to more info or view them on the map. We have a sidebar that details the same links, and also at the foot of the website you can also go to exploring the map and accessing the data. So if you wanted to find out a little bit more about each of the data sets, they all have their own individual page, and they have information about the last update, the formats, the scale, and also links to all the dataset documentation. Now from there, you could go and access the data or view it on the map, or you can click on our logo, which will take you back to the home page. Now, we think most people will use the map to explore the data. And for us, this is very exciting because it's the first time we've used our own data in a visualization on a mapping website. So this is currently looking at Euroglobal map, and like any mapping application, as you zoom in, you will see a little bit more data as you get closer in. And this is just rendering the same data set, but it's got scale selections on it. Now, as you go in, the data will increase, so you can see a little bit more detail, and eventually it will change to Euro regional map, which is the 1 to 250,000 data set. And when you get into the maximum extent, it will actually show you that you've reached the maximum zone level. So if you knew where you wanted to go, you could zoom in straight to your location. But if you didn't, you could type in a place. Now, this lookup is using the Gazetteer, which is also a data set that you can utilize through the website. And you see we've typed in Paris, takes you straight to Paris. We're now going to go to Berlin, and it'll take you to the same scale with the same data set. So you can start to compare and see what's available. Now, if you wanted to see what data sets were available for Germany, you can click on the dot and it will tell you that 4 out of the 5 available data sets are there for Germany, and they're on the side. And if you wanted to then have a look at the pan-European imagery, for example, you just show it on the map and it'll appear. And then you can zoom to the extent so you can see the whole of Europe, and you can see this very, very pretty data set, as I said, that comes from the Sentinel satellite. You might decide you want to look at the digital elevation model, and you can see the coverage is not quite as good, but that will increase as we progress through the project. And as we zoom into Spain and Portugal, you can see the nice digital elevation model there. Now, we've actually put on an overlay here so that you can switch on and off if you want, which will allow you to see some key settlements to help you locate yourself, and also you can just see very lightly the boundary between Portugal and Spain, and that's just to help you orientate yourself. Because we're now in Spain, you can now see that we have all 5 of the 5 available data sets available. If you then wanted to check what was available for Malta, for example, you can type it in from here as well. So there's lots of different ways to find the data that you're looking for. You can then click on the data sets from here again to find out more information. You can add them to the map if you change your mind and you want to see the topographic mapping, or you can click on Access Data, which is just at the bottom of that screen. Now here you can choose any of the data sets. There is a link to the license conditions, and the only real restriction we have is that we ask you to give us attribution. You select what you would like, so you can have a download or web services. And all we ask is that you put in your email address so we can send you an email with the links. As I said, we wanted to reduce the burden on the end user to make it as straightforward as possible. So when you request the data sets, you actually get an email. And here you can see an example of that. It gives you the links to the services and the downloads. And the reason we did this was just in case, your browser crashes, you lose the links. It means you've always got it in your email, and you can go and re-download the data if you want to again, or reactivate the service. So that was a demonstration of the site. I really hope that you'll go and have a look. As I said, it's the first iteration, so we're really keen to get some feedback. So do let us know how you get on.
The
And you
broadcast
can do
is
that
now starting.
by
All attendees are in.
contacting me. Just going to, here we have a link to the site. If you want to know a little bit more about the project, you can go to our actual website at Geographics. We're across all social media, or you can drop me an email. So please do have a look at the portal and let us know what you think. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Angela. I've just had a quick request to see how the other thematic sessions are going. They're running a few minutes late, so that allows me to ask you a few questions. So I was going to be very strict and not, but now that I know I've got a few minutes, here we go. Was GeoNetwork considered as a solution for the interface?
Actually, we put the request out for tender because obviously it's a European funded project. We needed to use the European procurement rules, and we had various people that came back suggesting what they would use. We did ask for open solutions if possible, and IDOCS, the team at IDOCS they're not using that. They came back up with their solution that they would use, and that was what we selected. But I have a lot of information on the back end technology. So if anyone wants to know about that, they can contact me directly and I can share that.
Thank you, Angela. And just on that point, for all of our viewers, the presentations will be available on the OP website after this event, so certainly next week, I imagine. And of course, you can continue to network as we go through the course of this afternoon and tomorrow. Another question, are there any restrictions on using the data that is available from Open Maps for Europe?
So we're using our own open data license. This is because it's a license we already had in place, and Euroglobal Map was already offered under that license, and we had the network and the framework set up with our members. But the only real restriction is that you give us attribution and you don't apply any additional constraints to the data. So we don't want you to take our open data and then constrain use for your users. So we want you to keep it as open data and easily accessible. But again, any questions on licensing, drop me a line.
And one very final question, because you're excellent at giving concise answers. How do these data sets relate to the ones in the Inspire Geo portal? Are they different? How do they compare?
That's a slightly more complicated question, but very good question. So our members are all, people who are part of the EU have a requirement to comply with Inspire. So for their national data, they will be offering Inspire compliant data services. These are pan-European data sets that we've set up, so they're not actually Inspire compliant. But any future activity that we're looking at, we are looking at the Inspire services. So they're not quite Inspire compliant, but it is something we're aware of for future activity.
Thank you, Angela. Wonderful work, and continue enjoying it. You clearly do love it. So it was a lovely talk with wonderful pictures.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.